Welcome to another edition of The Leaders. I'm Yuli Ismartono from Asia Views in Bangkok, Thailand, to chat with one of the country's most popular leaders, Kun Mechai Viravaidya. Trained as an economist, Kun Mechai has worn many hats in his productive and colorful career as an academic, a government official, an activist, and a social worker. Yet he is best known as Mr. Condom for demystifying contraceptives, and in doing so, lowered Thailand's once high popular growth rate. Today, he focuses on the problem of HIV/AIDS and community development. His curriculum vitae lists many awards to his name. Too many to mention them all here. In 1994, he received the Mechai Award. He was named as one of Time Magazine's Asian Heroes in 2006, and he received the Bill and Melinda Gates Award in 2007. Today, Kun Mechai remains the founder and board chairman of the Population and Community Development Association, the vehicle for many of his innovative projects. Kun Mechai, thank you for being with the Leaders Program.
Pleasure.
After successfully battling the problem of rapid population growth rate in Thailand, you then focused on HIV/AIDS, and you continue to seek new approaches to eradicating poverty in Thailand. First of all, share with us the secret of your success in bringing down Thailand's HIV rate from, I believe it's 140,000 to 20,000 a year. How did you manage to break the barriers that existed?
Well, everything began earlier in family planning. We were very strong at trying to educate the public. It must be an educated decision for them to practice family planning and to reduce the number of children. And we were able to get a distribution of contraceptives program into all the villages. And from 7 children, we came down to 1.2 over about a 23-year period. So that was the beginning, and the population growth came down from 3.3 to 0.5. So that was the beginning of working with family planning, with sex education, with contraceptives. Of course, condoms were part of it. When HIV came along, the Thai public was sort of aware of all the contraceptives and condoms and so on, so that it wasn't that difficult. We didn't have to start anew. We sort of gone with the wind with this time Technicolor and stereophonic sound and added to it. But the first principle was that public education was very important, and not only doctors and nurses are to be involved. Anyone who can change attitude and behavior has to be involved. In this case, every sector, be it the education sector, religious sector, business sector, everyone was involved. Every government official was trained so that they could answer questions if asked. Budget increase of 50-fold, and throughout the AIDS program, until tremendous change in attitude and behavior, much safer sex. 90% of the money was Thai money. It wasn't outside money coming in. It was our own. So the principle was that you must have political commitment and financial commitment to get it going. Okay, now if you're a poorer country, then you have financial commitment. Doesn't mean big money, but some money. You cannot expect the world to save you when you don't put any money in. It's just like when there's a fire and you lie back and watch television and say, please put out my house, it's on fire. So you have to show that and get everyone to be involved, schools, universities, businesses, the whole work. So public education everywhere, and we believe condoms were very important. So condoms were given out everywhere, and there was a very, very strong change. So after about 13 years, according to UNAIDS, the new cases of HIV came down by 90%. And the other one, according to the World Bank, the effort that was introduced by government and the NGO sector and subsequent governments since 1991 had prevented 7.7 million Thais from being infected. So those were the figures, and it simply showed that you can manage HIV, and you don't have to use too much money, but it also a lesson that don't sit back, don't fall asleep at the wheel. So what happened after all that success, everyone's talking about it, we had a government for about 5 years that went to sleep at the wheel in terms of public education, but treatment went on. And so now we have pushed it again, and I reminded the country that for every case that you can take care medically, there are 6 new cases occurring. So prevention is very, very important. So we're now doing it with youth, with kids, getting them to have a major role in it. So the effort then was strong government support. I asked, and the Prime Minister accepted to be the chairman of the National AIDS Committee. I wasn't the Minister of Health. I was the minister in charge of the Prime Minister's office, which meant tourism, broadcasting. But I felt that everyone had to be involved in doing something about HIV, not just the Ministry of Health.
You mentioned the use of the condom, or the introduction of condom, was when you tried to bring down the growth rate, introducing the family planning program. Even then, wasn't the use of the condom at first kind of a very sensitive issue? I mean, you had all these religious figures, maybe perhaps not Buddhists, but certainly Catholics, and
Actually, the Catholic Church, the imams, and the Buddhist monks didn't do anything. It was the diamond-fingered ladies who were the problem. They were saying, Mechai, you must not do that. It's bad for Thai society. You're corrupting them, and so on. So my understanding is that I went to them. I said, look, I apologize. I'm a very young person. I just turned 30. Don't expect me to know everything. Look at your own husband. All right? Now, so give me a chance. Thank you for telling me. And I went back and did exactly the same thing, and they didn't say a thing. In other words, they want you to kowtow to them, to say that I respect them. So I said, boom, I don't confront. So that was the first effort in family planning. I went to the Buddhist clergy and asked them about Buddhism family planning, and they said, well, we don't know. So I got some scholars to look into the Buddhist scriptures, and there were many, many examples of what Buddha said about family planning. One very strong quote was that births cause suffering, and I went one step further. Therefore, to prevent birth also means to prevent suffering. And it was not opposed by the Buddhist institution or religion. And I gave this quotation to every Buddhist temple. And I also had a picture of the Supreme Patriarch who signed wishing us luck in our endeavors to help people in family planning, and send that in a calendar to everyone. So it became a basic norm, because basically what we said, we're trying to help people to space their children the way they space their coconut trees, they space the rice plants, to save lives of women. We're trying to do good, so why oppose us?
Maybe that's the message that's not getting across to religious leaders and other society figures in other countries, because they're having a difficult time accepting the fact of the use of condoms for that purpose. I mean, they see it as encouraging promiscuity or something like that. Why is it so difficult in other countries?
Well, since I'm not a citizen of those countries, but I can speak as a Thai and a citizen of the world, that firstly promiscuity was run before democracy and before the condom was invented. So let's get everything straight. And I keep on saying, if you're embarrassed by the condom, you must be more embarrassed by the tennis ball. There's more rubber in it. Aren't you embarrassed by a knife that can kill? Aren't you embarrassed by bombs? Aren't you embarrassed by guns? You're embarrassed by this wonderful product made from a rubber tree, is used at Wimbledon and Australian Open and French Open and the American Open tennis championship. So many tons of rubbers use that. Why aren't we embarrassed by that? It's still a rubber. We have to be realistic. It is today, and of course before too, a lifesaver.
I wish it was that easy in countries like Indonesia, Malaysia. They still think that it's, they look at all the regulations and their interpretation is always, no, it is not possible.
Well, I have learned to take no as a question. And I would say in the countries you've mentioned, there's nobody working hard enough to push it. A lot of them say, well, these people say this, I better not do it, I better not, because I have my job to worry about, I have my reputation. I've had nothing to lose. There are 60 million other Thais who can take my place. So why worry? Don't look at yourself as being indispensable. You are totally dispensable, and go ahead and do it. And that's what we did. We took no as a question, not no as an answer.
Very good.